Welcome, listeners, to an episode of the Quarter Review, special edition of Semi-Informed Football, focusing on Serie A. I'm, reintroducing special guest Christian and his expertise on Italian football. Now, Christian, this is your second time on the show, isn't it?
It is, and I'm glad to be back.
Oh, that's amazing. And we loved your insights, and we're really, really looking forward to this one. Now, I kind of subtitled this podcast, The Quarter Review, basically because the Quarter is like the curved part of the stadium in Italy, in Serie A. And it's usually where the ultras and the crazy fans are. And this is a podcast where I like to have super fans on the show, so they get to give their opinion. And I've had fans in the past from AC Milan, from Juventus, from Roma on here. So that's what I wanted. I wanted this to be sort of like, the fans really expressing their love. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I love it. I love the name.
Yeah. And apologies to the Polish people out there. It's not what you think it is, right? So sorry about that. Anyway, so on this episode, so we had a few crazy weeks, Serie A and Italian soccer. But one thing I wanted to focus on is that, so Serie A had an extra team to put towards the Champions League bid. So they came in with 5 teams, right? One of those teams, which is Bologna, got knocked out in the group stage, in this new Champions League format. And then we just had a few weeks back where 3 Italian teams that I really thought had the upper hand on their opponent and they were well matched, all dropped. So we had Juventus, we had Atalanta, and we had AC Milan all drop from the competition in a home and away leg, which was really, really unfortunate, leaving Inter, who was actually had that bye for this competition, as the sole representative of Serie A. Now, if you actually take a look at that, and we're taking a look at the whole Serie A, is that we're also looking at Europa and the Europa Conference League. So Europa, we have Roma, and in the Conference League, we have Fiorentina as well. So, not many teams left in Italy, not many teams to go for. But really, what I want to take a look at is I really maybe kind of look at those 4 teams that were in the Champions League. And in the knockout stage, at least, and in the playoff round right now, and take a look at, how did that kind of differ from how they played in the Serie A? And if you're actually surprised that they didn't make the championships. So how does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So again, you know what? Let me preface it right now. So currently, I just mentioned the teams that made it through champions and didn't make it through champions. But in the league as we're spinning right now, and I'm going to go through like the top teams. We have Inter in top. We have Napoli second, Atalanta third, Juventus fourth, and in that Europa League spot, we have Lazio in fifth, and then Bologna in sixth. Now we have Fiorentina, Roma, and Milan in the next 3 spots, and it's really kind of doable for them to actually kind of jump into Europe. But that's where we're standing right now. But the first thing I want to actually take a look at. So Italian clubs had a rough time in Europe this season, I think. Now let's see what really broke. So I'm going to actually start with one of the teams that I think a lot of people really tune in for is AC Milan. What kind of went wrong there? Was it just, like a coaching breakdown? Was it Feyenoord being a team that's actually a lot better than most people think? Well, like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't actually watch the game because I forget which game was going on at the same time. I believe it was Club Brugge and Atalanta was the game going on at the same time, but I didn't actually watch the game myself. But that I was just feeling for Milan fans because it was super disappointing on the second leg as well as the first leg. I mean, obviously that goes for all the teams that participated and dropped out in the Champions League, the Italian ones. But I think Milan fans are especially disappointed because they bought their star striker in the January window, I believe, Jimenez. So you
brought him over.
Buy their striker and you face them right after, and it's like it just raises questions towards the coach, I think, more than the players, because if you're making this kind of investment and it's a good investment in my opinion because he's a decent player, and I guess it just, in my opinion, it raises more questions towards the coach than rather the players in this case, because they had the quality, and like I said, they just bought their arguably best player, so there's no reason they shouldn't have easily swept by them.
Yeah, so, and you mentioned coaching. So Conceição coming in as the second Portuguese coach for the season, right after Fonseca was let go.
Yeah,
but again, maybe a little bit of tactical kind of mishaps, and I think when I talk to my Milanista friends, they say that they say that as well. It's just the tactics, playing the wrong players, playing players that really shouldn't really get that much time. Like I know, you have quality. You have like one of the best sort of backs in the world in Theo, and really, really have to ride on that. Like he is your captain. He should be the captain. I honestly think he's one of the most talented players in Serie A, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem to be working for Milan this year.
Yeah, even in the league, I mean, not to just jump right over to like the Serie A, but like they're also just I think it's not even an exaggeration to say they're struggling. I mean, they're eighth place. They have arguably like one of the best squads in the league, like right near Inter and Juventus. So I don't see like any reason why they should be below fourth at the very minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And the pedigree with this team is that they should be in that area. Now, one thing I do want to kind of, and I've said this on the semi-informed football podcast, but Feyenoord is a team that does have just recent pedigree as well. So Arne Slot, who ended up going to Liverpool to start off the season, and is having a phenomenal year with Liverpool, where they've kind of iced top spot, and they're doing well in Champions League. Just kind of somehow pulling off a game against PSG just recently.
I watched that game. That was amazing. That game.
I think that's a game to watch this whole season. Like, how do you put 22 shots, and PSG was just relentless?
Yeah.
And a player who is out of favor with Arne Slot and Harvey Elliott actually coming in and getting that winner. But again, this is not about Premier League football or any other games, but again, that's one that we had to throw in there because that was a phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah, that was just an amazing game to watch.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna move on from AC Milan. We're gonna go to Juventus. Juventus playing PSV. Now, I don't know. I don't know what happened here. I know a lot. I talked to a lot of Juventini friends, and they're sort of they think this was like melted down to tactics. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I believe they won the first like Juventus, which was why like I didn't think they were gonna like completely crash out like they did, but I thought it would have been like at least close back at PSV Stadium. But I guess it turned out to be like a complete blowout because like from my Juventus friends that I talked to, they were extremely like disappointed in not only the tactics, like a lot of them had words to say about Mata, but they were more, maybe it was the heat of the moment, that they were more disappointed in individual players and how they maybe went about playing and went about winning or losing their duels on the field. But
Honestly, like a chip I have on my shoulder is Dusan Vlahovic coming in such at a later time, just really not being utilized. Like I understand that Kolo Muani coming in has been hot as anything, and has been scoring at will almost, but like just being a little bit smarter about having, still Juventus's top scorer in Serie A at least factored into there instead of a late kind of late addition to the team. So I don't know. That's something I have with there, and I do think again we talked about this with AC Milan, but even the pedigree of Juventus really it shouldn't be a team that no offense to PSV or no offense to PSV fans that should have lost to PSV.
I definitely agreed.
Now this is a game that I didn't know much about, but I really do think that this was like honestly. So Atalanta versus Club Brugge. Now I know Club Brugge is a good team. Not many people know the Belgian league. However, I picked Atalanta almost as being my sort of dark horse of this tournament because Gasperini having that team really going at times. I know they've left, they've lost a lot to sort of leaving the club, but really did think that this is something that they could have squeezed through and maybe been like sort of a dark horse or maybe one of the representatives from Serie A to really kind of take it home. But like, what do you think about Atalanta's play? Yeah, again, compared to like domestically, compared to Europe, like what did you think?
Yeah, so this is actually both fixtures I watched all 90 minutes of, and not only first of all I have to say like I'm disappointed in all Italian teams, but
Yeah.
Atalanta especially because I feel like between Milan and Juventus, the other ones that crashed out, like I think they were the ones where I was like, okay, at least like they're gonna win, and Milan and Juventus are struggling even in the league, arguably. Juventus as well. So it's like it's fine if like it's fine for the whole Italian football if Atalanta go through and they drop out. But man, like that second leg in Atalanta was an absolute mess. Club
Yeah.
Brugge dominated them tactically and player for player even. I mean, just from what I saw, I know Atalanta love to play a man-to-man game, and Club Brugge, they just held their formation strong and they really didn't like I mean, it was just great to watch from a neutral, but obviously when I was cheering for Atalanta, it was hard to see them get dominated so hard. And I don't know if you have seen like the red card at the end of the game with Taloy.
Yeah.
That was just like embarrassing on his part. I mean, he should. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have words to say. I don't know how that could you could do that to somebody, and especially somebody so young. Because I'm pretty sure he was going after somebody who was like 19 or 20. So it's like you're a captain of a football club, and
Yeah.
you're making these decisions towards a kid practically. So it's yeah, I don't know, bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then frustrations come into play. And it's just like, I guess it's not just us frustrating, not just us frustrating to go to watch these games, but these players just looking at, you know, what they thought was, a success in the horizon that not happened after having, a really great Europa like, Conference League competition. Not ignoring it, Bologna, but Bologna going out sort of in the group stage itself, in this new Champions League format. So that's another team that I actually thought maybe they could kind of squeak something by, the second red black team out of Serie A, but it wasn't meant to be. Yeah, let's talk about Inter. Now, Inter is, kind of the sole torch carrier right now for Serie A. And in the first leg of this competition, we're recording this podcast at the end of the week. They actually went up 2-0. What do you what do you think? Like, do you think that maybe, what do you say about their play, first of all? And do you think they have a shot?
I definitely think Inter. I think just to recap, just regarding all the Italian teams who participated in Champions League, I think the performances of others besides Inter have a lot to say more about like how far behind the rest of the Italian league is behind Inter. I mean,
Yeah.
like I think like it really speaks volumes of how strong Inter is compared to even like the second best team, which would I guess arguably be like Juventus or
Napoli.
maybe could be Napoli. I mean, like even just looking at squads on paper, I think like Inter not only do they have the best squad, but I think they're also making it work the best, and it's showing because they won that game really convincingly. I watched it against Feyenoord, so yeah, they just kept the ball. They really just, and I think they could have scored again because Zielinski, former Napoli player, missed the penalty. So it was just it was just a complete dominance, and it'll be a good like little revenge on maybe their rivals' behalf, as ironic as it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have no real concern for the other leg of this. Do you think Inter will put Feyenoord away?
To be honest, like yeah, easily. I think Inter's just so far ahead of a squad as of any other Italian team at the moment. Yeah.
No, again, you mentioned them as an entire squad, but I've said this like 15 times on this podcast already. That I do think that they have the most quality midfield in all of Europe, really. Right? It's just like from left to right. Like I don't know who else I'd take as a team to say I'd swap that out. So I do think that they can go far. Um, if I'm gonna make a call, I'd say at least to the quarter, like the final four. I think they have the quality to be there, right? And then we'll see on top of that. Like I always say, and I've said this to Beth too on podcasts, is that you never count Real Madrid out, right?
Yeah.
Even if it look like they're outmatched on paper, everything looks like, what, this team is going to get killed. They pull a rabbit out of the hat, and Madrid's out there. But again, back to Inter. I think Inter can make the final four. I think they have that strong quality, top to bottom, and they have the score.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Yep. And I believe they face Bayern in the next leg. I'm not sure unless Leverkusen make a 3-0 comeback somehow. But
You know what? I don't even. I have to take a look at how that Champions new format kind of lines up, because so it is already in stone. It's not like they get reseeded.
yeah, I believe at this point it is like a straight path towards the final where you can see who faces up against each other, provided they make it through.
With that said, we're going on a tangent here a little bit. Do you like the new Champions League format compared to the old?
To be like personally, no, but I do think for like football as a whole, I think it's decent. Like there is more games to be played, but like just besides that, I think it's like it's more entertaining. I won't lie, but I did like personally, I do like the group stage format where you kind of face teams twice. You get the home and away fixture, and it's
You
just
like that?
yeah. For me, it's like a rivalry thing, almost like I know like whenever Napoli participates in Europe, it's not too frequently, but whenever they do, it's fun to see like our fans get into it with other fans on the reverse fixture, and it's like a whole I don't know. It's not just see you once and bye bye until next time. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
no. So, but you don't get frustrated with that group of death if your team gets pulled into it. They're like, oh man, there's three powerhouses in this, and only two of them going forward.
no, yeah, you bring up a good point, but just personally, I think I just liked it better. I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's more of like what I'm used to. Maybe is what I'm trying to say more.
I get what you're saying. And Mark said this on semi-informed football, and I'll key you in on that, is that he just didn't like the way that the squads were chosen for the round of 16. So his team, Liverpool, pulling PSG when that really wasn't too fair, right? Like, and then on top of it, the other two complaints that I have of it were of Real Madrid pulling Atletico, which is one Spanish team is going to come out of that, so one's going to take out the other, and then also Bayern pulling in Bayer Leverkusen, right? So one's going to take out the other one, meaning that there's less representation from that league. But I guess
That's actually a really good point you bring up. A lot of the same, yeah, that's a really good point you bring up.
yeah.
I didn't quite realize that.
Okay, cool. So let's get a little bit back into. Well, no. You know what? Honestly, what I want to do is I want to kind of say that you're right. There's still Europa and Europa Conference League. So in Europa we have Roma, which squeaked out a win, which is great. So it's going to be hard getting into the second. But then Fiorentina, who lost to Panathinaikos.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I thought they were better quality than they were. Like I think yeah, I don't know. Like we know what happened to Moise Kean earlier on, just the transplant from Juventus. But like I did think that they were solid from beginning to end, and I was actually surprised that one happened.
Yeah, definitely. This is almost comparable. This is more like of a contrasting difference even between Atalanta and Club Brugge because I think like the skill difference between this like Panath sorry I yeah Panathinaikos and Fiorentina is just so much bigger than I think like a lot of people like know. Like I mean, yeah, just the leagues in general, comparing them the Greek league and the Italian team,
Yeah.
you would expect like a team like Fiorentina to easily sweep past them, maybe not even concede a goal. But I also watch this game and it was a mess. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it was an absolute mess. Fiorentina players are all over the place. There was a goalkeeper mistake, error that led to goal. It was just not a good one. Yeah.
Not a good one. Okay, we're gonna move more into an open segment right now. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit um of all the I guess maybe of all the Italian teams in Serie A that were in Europe, or even just kind of taking a look back at the domestic league. Is there any team really that you're most disappointed with? Like you said, I'm like, wow, you really expected a little bit more from that. Like, is there one you can identify?
Without a doubt, Atalanta because
Yeah.
they're always my one hope. If not like the bigger Italian teams, they're always my one hope in Europe for Italy. And yeah, just losing to Club Brugge is one thing. Losing to them how they did is a completely other thing, other different things. So yeah, definitely my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I know, no, and especially with Lookman, I think Lookman scored what 3 goals in that win over Bayer Leverkusen to actually break up the unbeaten season.
That was an amazing final. Yeah,
Yeah, unreal. So Atalanta's there for you. Um, this is kind of throwing this one at you. What are some underrated players that you're watching in the Serie A right now? Like some players that I think they don't get the love in Europe that you think that yeah, you know what, people should give the look to this player.
there's some players. Um, I really my like not obsession, but what I love to see is youngsters and like one player like that I do like I'm like I've been following and he actually got signed to Como in the January window. His name is Asan Diao. He's I think he's 19 or 20. He's a Spanish left winger. And I think he has like 5 goals in like 8 games for so far for Como, scoring against like Napoli, Juventus, and Milan. So it's just like I just love like little players like that who just come out of nowhere kind of thing and just make a name for themselves right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely one to watch out for. I think a lot of like big clubs are already like just keeping tabs on him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so I'm gonna get back to youth players, but I'm gonna put two names that I kind of had in my mind, and those were Nuno Tavares, who really kind of, like he had a look in the Prem, but really has come back and really really done well in Serie A. And honestly, and my AC Milan fans, talk this one up and down, but to Johnny Reindeers,
yeah,
right? So yeah, just a solid player. Like just to see him on the pitch is great, and something kind of really creative and really really great is going to happen from him.
yeah. I do think Rangers is definitely one of it's kind of the light in the darkness for Milan at this point. He's really like making a difference when there's really not many difference makers out there, or they really just don't have the energy or will to make a difference. So yeah, he's definitely a player to watch out for. I do also think he could fit into like most top teams in the world, to be honest. I do think
Yeah.
he is at that level, to be honest.
I think he has the I guess the stage right now to kind of make that. He has been in Europe, right? But I think that is really really building with him. So that's awesome. So here's another name I'm going to throw out. I'm going to ask you something. So it's Santiago Castro from Bologna. So this is a 20-year-old Argentinian.
Yeah.
Playing quite well this season. But did you know that Spalletti is actually trying to get him to kind of swap over to the Azzurri?
I
Kind of like Retegui did, like maybe 2 years back.
Yeah. No, yeah, I actually literally just saw this 2 hours before like getting on with you. So yeah, it's good that you brought up. Yeah, I was looking at that, and obviously I wouldn't mind that at all. I love Santi Castro. He's such a even from last season, he was just such a cool like youngster to just like low key watch, and just you'll just know he's always on the development to become better and better at such a young age. And I think, yeah, you're right. This season, he's really breaking through and maybe making a name for himself for bigger clubs to even pick him up maybe in the summer. So we'll see. I mean, I don't want to make any like crazy predictions, but I think like he is Napoli's kind of player. And I think like it's a realistic buy for us among other teams as well. I mean,
Right.
Atalanta could sell Retegui, buy him, make a little profit there. Lazio could do the same, getting rid of their old players. So yeah,
Yeah, no, and then I do feel like Retegui being again a Turi, an Italian player, even though coming from Argentina, but I feel like there's a premium in the Serie A on Italian players. So if you can get an Italian striker, kind of like a Scamacca, but if you can get an Italian striker, I think they would probably play a little bit of a premium, kind of like the Premier League, where you have English players, they go double for anybody else, just the fact that it's an English player, right? So that's something similar.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Cool. So we're actually right at the beginning of the weekend. We're recording here on a Saturday afternoon, and I was going to throw this out to you, and I was going to ask you in the Serie A, what is your game of the weekend? Now, with that said, we just actually witnessed a game earlier today, which Milan took on Lecce.
Yeah.
They went down
Yeah.
2-0, but ended up somehow tying it up with an own goal and a PK, and then putting it away right at the end. So they won 3-2. That was a wild comeback. They really needed those 3 points in the night.
Yeah, they definitely.
So that's a game that's already happened. And as we're recording this, there's actually a game between Inter Milan and Monza. So I don't know how that one's playing out. But, with those games kind of in the can, with Napoli Fiorentina still coming up, with Juventus Atalanta still coming up, what is your game of the weekend?
This weekend,
Yeah.
I think definitely that one. I mean, that was just so spectacular to watch. I was watching the first half, and I just saw Kristovic just bagging through goals, and it was just his goals were good too. I mean, they were really nicely crafted goals, at least one of them. So yeah, it was good to see Milan also come back. I mean, like I'll always cheer for the underdog or
Yes.
not the big
Any game that you have no stake in, right? So
Yeah, exactly. But it was nice to see like a little comeback, and at the end, you saw kind of what it meant to the players. Really, they really were into it when they came back. So, yeah,
yeah. So that's a game that already happened. How about the two that are still supposed to be happening up teams that are a little bit high with Napoli Fiorentina or Juve Atalanta? Which one do you think is going to end up being a better game?
from a neutral standpoint, I think Napoli Fiorentina might be better just because like both these teams are like kind of exciting at the moment. I think like Juventus is like more of like on a stale point. Like they're not really like they are like performing to a certain point, but they're not like I don't know how to put it. It's like they're not like playing excited.
Yes.
Although
Yes.
Atalanta are the complete opposite of that. They're just always exciting. So I don't know. It's really a coin toss. I mean, maybe Napoli Fiorentina might be a bit of a closer match than Juventus
Yes.
Atalanta. So maybe that from that standpoint, it might be better to watch.
Okay, that's amazing. I like the fact that we can go back and kind of comment on this and how this one goes. But both of them look like they're going to be amazing ties. Okay, so that's going to wrap us up for I guess for the podcast today. Thank you, Christian, so much for joining me. And I know the invitation's out again, so you can join me again. But we had an amazing conversation right now. And honestly, to any listeners out there, I would say if you have any strong opinions on Serie A, or at least want to kind of debate with me on something like that, reach out. Reach out. The email's in the description, so do that. So, Christian, thank you so much for everything. You've been amazing today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, till next time.
Till next time. Bye.